Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Slight delay this morning, but we're rocking and rolling here. Welcome, welcome. Before we jump on in, as always, on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the live trading morning prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that's inside there. I think audio's working correctly. I can see it there. I can see it there. Yeah, we're good. So starting off, if you aren't a member of SSFTG or not yet part of the YouTube family, check out the join button below the stream to gain access before our next private webinar, get access to our Discord chat, not to mention the awesome badges next to your YouTube name to show support and all that cool stuff, and plus a boatload more. If you're trying to figure out what it is exactly that we're doing every day, look no further than the Day Trading Academy on SSFTG, not including the live streams, YouTube tutorials, and everything else that we have going on. The Day Trading Academy has 19 plus hours of material loaded for you, and that collection continues to grow. So please keep in mind that the YouTube broadcast side of things does have between a 3 to 10 second delay or so. But if you want to level up to a VIP status, you can enjoy the exclusive permanent access to our non-delayed live analysis stream via Zoom Direct Meeting, as well as monthly VIP webinars, private VIP events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here and totally new, or you're a veteran over on the VIP stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you here with me today. Let's take a look at some news, take a look at some charts, see what's going on this morning. Make sure to grab the SSFTG DP levels there on the morning brief zone. Those are not an April Fool's. I don't really mess around with April Fools when we're talking about on the money side of things, so don't expect too much from me on that side. But I'm definitely planning some for the kids later. Good morning, welcome. So let's get those out of the way. Grab the morning DP levels to get those covered and get that knocked out. Going backward here, let me go back to the NASDAQ. Starting off there, the NASDAQ continues to go to the upside, and it never really pulled back much. All it had was that singular pullback, and that was kind of it. It rotated all the way back up and continued back to the upside. I still think this is incredibly overextended, but realistically, there's obviously some trouble here with the buyers just rocket shipping this thing to the upside. So like we were talking about before, when we were starting to break above that 110, 120 area, that was the hard spot. And you can see they tried everything they could to get it to hold there, but then it started breaking above, and that's where you kind of have to eat the loss. Unfortunately, it just didn't want to follow through. So there's not really much we can do about that one, but it is what it is. We've got more continuation to the upside. I like the rotation potential to the down, but I'm not going to be the first one to the party anymore. We've got a nice ascending wedge. It could be trying to figure out where they want to go from there. Not really even a wedge, more of a channel. So we'll see. If we're looking from a structural perspective, backward, there's just a boatload of resistance up here. Everywhere from the 13,300s down to the 13,200s, just a brick wall. If we look at the overall volume that took place up there, let's see what kind of volume we've got going on. Oh, okay, well, a completely nondescript zone of interest, and the POC is a little bit lower. Let me back this off a little bit just so we get the highs. There we go. Man, they still got the POC down there. Well, in terms of zones of interest, that one was retested already. That one was retested already. That one missed. Later came back and already blew through. Next major one has already tested. We're bouncing off that. The last one, the final one, just a little bit further up, and that's going to be floating at about 13,264, give or take a little bit. So once it starts reaching up to that point, being a buyer becomes a lot more difficult. That's going to be a major zone of resistance if it's going to keep going. If we look at the overall volume to the upside, assuming what's going on here, and that this is an obvious breakout higher now, let's see what the volume looks like. So again, we've got that accumulation volume. You've got the initial accumulation where sellers are trying to get this to rotate back down, myself included. And, well, it never did and ended up going back up. You've got this giant void that forms in the middle. Generally speaking, that's where a lot of traders initially had their break-evens, which was the case. That's what we were talking about yesterday. So the fact that it starts kind of cranking higher and breaking above all of these areas, now we have to look at it from a different perspective. What's going on with all of the volume from the bottom? Oop, I didn't mean to move it. It's going to calculate again. So far, we see volume driving lower. And that would give us a pretty big clue that we still don't have sellers accumulating these highs yet. At least not in the bigger term. Maybe in the nearer term, if all you were to do was look at this volume at the top, then it might give you something a little bit different. But realistically, we just don't have, excuse me, the accumulation volume that's showing up yet. So NASDAQ still trying to go higher. 13,264 is the major objective. Before I forget, let me set that to all charts. There we go. Over on the S&P, also continuing its drive to the upside, we've got a nice spike in channel that is still just kind of bouncing around, held the lows very nicely several times over, and then we had that launch to the upside, immediately tapped the top, pulled back, but doesn't look like the buyers are done yet. So with this really aggressive blow-off that did kind of break through that previous swing, and that's creating a potential swing gap area too. So if we're looking at it from a swing gap perspective to the upside, that gives higher objectives at around 92.75, 39.92.75 for the S&P. That would be from the swing gap at least. We also have the top of the channel, which isn't too far away, going into 39.90. So, I mean, really, going a couple points above it and ending up closing as a 15-minute wick, that wouldn't be much of a surprise. So, on gold, the buyers, we were talking about that volume that was building in down there and how they shifted the POC. As long as the sellers stayed below it, they were clear for takeoff to the downside. But if they lost their grip, which they did, it went screaming all the way back up. If we draw this back before that breakout move to the upside, if we just look at the volume down, we can see the POC was still up here. Right, so 1727.6, everything was still looking stable to the downside. They were building volume, but nothing too crazy. And then we go to just past these first couple bull bars, and we see a pretty big shift, but no POC has turned around yet until we go a little bit further forward, getting all of the info. And that shows us, based on everything else, now we've got the POC volume, which is completed down here. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious that that reversal move off of the lows, in hindsight, obviously, this didn't help us in real time, but in hindsight, it bounced the market back up. Lots of aggressive volume cranking the market higher, and seeing it go back up into this zone, well, this is the earlier zone of resistance. If longs were stuck, which we have to assume they were, because that POC was up there for so long, when it breaks through, we've got this giant void, which is where all of those stops are getting hit, right? No orders really have a chance to get filled, and it dives through. Tries to come back up to get them out of break even, but falls short, and everybody else pile drives out, causing this flush to the downside. We have that a little bit of a kind of accumulation zone, but the market's finally made its way back. So interesting to see that the first response immediately was just immediate resistance. It bounced right out of there. Now that it's back, it's trying to break through. It's a good sign for buyers who are trying to fill in this void, at least, to get this continuation back a little bit further. So upside objectives next on gold would be around 1739. Maybe not right now. There's one heck of a bull bar here. They might need to pull back a little bit, but we'll see. On crude oil, gigantic reversal back to the upside and a retest of that major POC. Holy cow, what a bounce. So we've got a lot of stuff going on with crude oil. We were talking about that in the Discord room earlier too, where you just got to be careful. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's news announcements about like Saudi capital drone strike potentials, and there's a lot of things going on, and oil is kind of in the limelight here. So seeing this back and forth, not really a big surprise, but very interesting. Notice this drive down, this huge, massive blow off. It was accumulation volume the whole way down. We can see, it's hard to see because it all happened on one candle, but the volume is increasing the whole way lower until the inevitable POC at the base. It reversed off of that, gave a higher low as proof, tried turning higher again, tried turning higher again. Where did it come back to? Smack on top of that level. Look at the response. I think it's pretty clear that that buyers were looking to reload down there and defend their earlier entry points. If they hadn't already gotten in, a lot of chasing would have gone on because, I mean, again, the risk is so low. The risk is very low, but the reward is massive all the way back up. And man, were they rewarded quick. Huge drive to the upside. So bulls have some major responsiveness going on. And to make this even better, if we look at this from a cyclical standpoint, we have an L5 reversal. L5 reversals have the best potential to try to reverse this into an actual new trend. L5s, L4s, those are the ones that you want to look at. And when you've got these big wicks like this, that's perfect. So Crude's got a shot. They have a really good chance to try to take this higher. As far as a massively aggressive wedge to the upside, we've got that, I guess. We'll see if they want to hit something like that. That's a crazy wedge top. Well, you never know. Over on the euro, nice rotation off of the lows. We're still continuing that higher low sentiment. Excuse me. We still have that higher low sentiment. Buyers are continuing with this, what seems to be kind of a head and shoulders. Just a little bit funky looking. I really don't like it when the right shoulder, if you're looking for longs, is above. That makes it really awkward because then for it to break out, it's got to go above an uptrending or an upsloped angled trend line. That's really tough to sustain. So although it is setting up like a head and shoulders here, honestly, it looks more like it's a W breakout, and a W breakout tends to go to the inside smallest swing before the breakdown and come up to the highs. Unfortunately, that's not very far up. If we narrow it down, it might give us a little bit further movement up towards like the 17,900s, maybe. But there's not a whole lot of room anymore. It's getting close. It's getting pretty far up here. I'm kind of curious on the way bigger picture. Obviously, this move down was, I mean, there's been divergence the whole way. So talk about a massive undertow. But I'm curious to see what the volume looks like now that we've had a little bit of range-bound sentiment here. Probably accumulation, I would assume. Oh, okay. So this is really interesting. This is good info here. So this hasn't been here long enough to actually prove accumulation. The accumulation was here. Now we're breaking below. This is, again, this is what we were looking at yesterday, and where if the volume doesn't start shifting down here, this could break down really aggressively. We're seeing the volume build up here, but that's mainly because of the amount of time spent here. If this was a POC shift, then there would have been a huge amount of volume already taking place. That may still happen now that they're breaking higher. If we do get that kind of W reversal, that first higher low pullback becomes very interesting, and that could be what a lot of volume is waiting for. It's still pretty early. That's a lot of could-bes, and we still haven't even seen the volume shift yet. There's a huge VVP sitting at 17,785, right where we are now. Lovely. Well, certainly don't want to go long down here. Not directly into resistance at VVP. A little bit lower, though. That breakout pullback could get really interesting. Over on Bitcoin, still continuing to see failures below 60,000. We've now got a 3-press wedge low that's continuing to drive down, and that is all the while with a pretty big undertow trying to suck the market down off of the top. It's having a little bit of difficulty keeping this movement up. If we look at the volume, typically Coinbase volume is really, really herky-jerky if it's going to load at all. Let me load this based on minute. Last time I tried to do this, it froze my Ninja charts for a couple minutes, so I might regret this decision, but let's see if I can get it to go. You know, I love that Coinbase has data for NinjaTrader, but it could use some work. It could definitely use just a few touches. My charts are frozen right now, so I gotta wait for my charts to come back. But that'll give us an idea of what we're looking at here. All right, there we go. Can we load the volume now? Oh. It's trying. Oh, and now my charts are frozen again. Oh no, did I do real time? I did real time. I drug it all the way to the real time. That's a problem. Coinbase does awful with the order flow on current price action. I can't even see my mouse to click on it either. Well, very obviously, there is a gargantuan volume spike at around 58,800. Give or take some change. I can't move my charts to see, so it's around there. But, a metric ton of orders that's taking place here. I'm not really sure if those are buyers or sellers yet. We really don't have any proof. I can click on that. Did you see my mouse show up for a second? I know I can click on that. I can see my mouse up here. My mouse should be right there. Hey, how's it going? Again, I'm trying to get my Ninja charts to load, but you know what? I wonder if this will work. If I completely disconnect Coinbase data, will it just stop? It's like, okay, I give up. Or is that just going to crash everything? Did I make a mistake? Okay. I saw my crosshair. Let me click on the order flow. Delete it. Go away. Please. Oh, there we go. We're back. Oy. All right, let me reload to Coinbase again. Anyway, metric ton of volume that was taking place around that 58,800. Very, very obvious. I'm not going to draw the order flow again. But we saw it there. And that's going to be a pretty big area of interest because, I mean, really, that gives us something to very much keep an eye on. If we look at this from a sideways zone of resistance, I mean, look at what's going on here. We tried to break out, total failure. Tried getting up there again, failed. Getting up there again, failed. Big wick scares the crap out of me. Comes back, fails again. Tries again, fails again. There's obviously something going on here. And that would lead me to believe that so far, sellers are trying to hold the market down. It could just be buyers taking profit. It could be a lot of different things. I don't know. But right now, it's a brick wall, and I don't want to buy into it. I got to buy low. I would love to see another leg down like we just had, this quick little flush leg. Problem is, I don't know that we're going to get it. That flush leg was a really nice dip. That was, I mean, what did that dive down? About 5% over the course of like 3 hours. I mean, talk about a flash sale. Another one would put us at a new low. Let me try that again. I wish it lined up better with a wedge bottom or something, but I mean, it's there. I just don't want to be a buyer way up here. Over on Ethereum, continuing the bullish channel to the upside. It looks like we've got a bit of what attempted to be a spike and wedge, attempted to break out, failed. Now we've got a bit of a spike and channel, which has failed through the highs. So typically when you fail through the highs of a channel, they're going to overshoot the lows of the channel. So seeing it get down towards like the 95s or so would be likely. We'll see. I would love to see back to the channel lows, but looking at the daily on the NASDAQ. Currently not connected to my data provider. Did me disconnecting from Coinbase mess up all of them? Like, for real? All right, hold on one second. Close NinjaTrader. Let's see. While I'm dealing with Ninja being herky-jerky, and it's probably my fault, but it's a little bit frustrating. You know, it's not like there's anything important in about 6.5 minutes. That's fine. Have you tried trading crypto futures before? Honestly, when I've been looking at the crypto futures, the thing that makes me nervous is the fact that it's such an incredibly high margin. I love the idea of these micro ones coming on, what was it, May 3rd or something like that? The 1/10 versions. I'm 100% going to be interested in that. But taking a position with a 40,000 margin, I mean, just for one, it just seems absurd to me, you know, and that hasn't really come, and that's been the case since it was down at 10,000. Now it's actually not as terrible if you put it into consideration of buying one Bitcoin is 50,000. It actually makes a bit more sense now. I don't know if they've changed the margin. It's been a minute since I've looked at it. But I mean, I've never I played around with it for a little bit, but the cost of that I don't like that. And keep in mind, at the time, Bitcoin was trading at like 9,000, 10,000. So it's like, why wouldn't I just trade Bitcoin? I don't understand. Give me 1 second to try to get this connected and all loaded back up again. Okay. Are candles moving now? Are we good? Okay. Now Coinbase. Don't mess me up. Coinbase is loaded. These charts are still moving. Whew, okay. We're good. 4 minutes until the open, right around the corner. From the cycling today, we started off with this just absolutely monster move to the upside and just totally reversed it in the Asian session. Big, nice drive to the upside, had a continuation up, tested the top side of that L2, deviation outside of it, came back, and then just screamed higher all the way up to 3 deviations so far. Now, during that big move to the upside, that was also the European session. The European session so far having a little bit more difficulty. They've made it to an L1 deviation above, but that's about it. They're not really getting a whole lot of continuation yet. Could be dealing with maybe that wedge top coming into play. Although it hasn't really hit it yet. And that one just looks gross. Speaking of looking gross, this doesn't look much better, but I guess for lack of anything else. Crypto market seems primed for another leg up soon. I would agree. I would just like one more flush down. That's the not to sound like, the vindictive contrarian, but honestly, those are some of the best moves when you get that nice trap. And although we did just come off of a fantastic, I don't know how many F's just came out of my mouth there, but when we come out of a fantastic pullback, like we just had that quick little flush on Bitcoin, man, I mean, it's tough to not like that as a flash sale. Really nice Walmart bargain bin, really good price. So they might not get another leg. I would love to see one. I mean, from the crypto side, if we're looking... Oh, great. Yeah, that's Coinbase is working completely as intended, obviously. Jeez. All right, Coinbase, you're killing me here. Disconnect. Don't mess up my other data. Try again. Great success. It's like I didn't even try. Okay, well, there's obviously some problems here. Maybe NinjaTrader's not the best one for this yet. We'll look at something else. Can't say I didn't try. 2 minutes until the open. Thanks, Ninja. Get the caffeine rolling. I really wish I liked coffee more. I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong, but... because it would make me warmer. 1 minute. Stock exchange open right around the corner. We are getting heavily overextended to the upside, and that major objective is going to be at the top, but I'm pretty sure we learned our lesson from yesterday. Even though it was with small size, it can still have some pretty big teeth. It's not fun, so... shorting against this trend that just keeps exploding to the upside? No thanks. I tried being the first one to the party. Didn't work. I'm not interested in doing it again. Plus, we broke through the zone that I wanted to see them hold. That was back in the 120s. Kind of gave up the ghost there. All right. Let's go open, see what you got. Nice little dive down to the European session highs. Would be an optimal zone for buyers on the scalp side to be coming in for an attempted bounce. Especially if they can get a nice quick little trap underneath that previous low. That needs to be a lot brighter. Crude oil still on full V-bottom reversal mode. S&P continuing to the upside. So far, upside objective is still a bit further on the NASDAQ. They might give that little flush. This is a two-legged correction, so there might not be a whole lot more to this pullback before it starts going up. It's volume at the open, so I know it can be really herky-jerky here, but if we look at the most recent volume and see what's going on, a majority of the volume's coming in above 47.25. And now it's coming back and see the volume stacking up. It's buyers defending. You can see it happening. And there's their scalp targets getting taken off right there. If you're fast enough to respond to it. Buyers still defending that 47.25. Major target must have been filled there at 253. POC shifted up, and now it's breaking away. That could have been sellers getting stopped out above that bear bar too. Because notice as soon as it cracked that, it went higher without a whole lot in the way. All the sellers that were trying to hold the market down just got flushed. Or ripped, but whatever. Accumulation volume now, more profit taking going on at the highs. Buyers trying to buy the pullback. Still super early. If we look at the overall cycle, I mean, what has this thing had? Came off of an L3. L1. I mean, if they can even get close to an L1, buyers are going to be interested. Bulls still trying to continue a bit further up. No pullback yet. Volume still on the pullback yet. Breaking above that large objective area, 13,264. This is that giant VVP zone on the bigger picture, remember? That pullback never happening. Yeah, exactly. It kind of did, but you still had to eat a pretty big chunk. It happens sometimes. But considering the chunk, you know, the potential if it does turn, it's like the last time we had that big run to the upside where you get those runs that are over 1,000 ticks. It's worth it. But it didn't go. Oh well. No need in getting sentimental. If you got sentimental and kept holding it, you're sitting in a pain train right now. You would have missed that beautiful long in the overnight. Still no pullback. Nice volume cluster building on top of the DP resistance zone around 75. Yeah, S&P's getting real close to 4,000. Love to see a little trap flush underneath, but honestly, that L1 is not far away. So if they can get even close to this L1 on a quick enough move, that's going to be a big zone of interest. All right, we got the first 5 candle now complete. Looking at the first 5 volume cluster, which is a total train wreck. Where the heck's the POC? There it is. 53. Lovely. And the first 5 volume cluster on the S&P is at 39.88. Still more continuation to the upside. Now a flush back to the first 5 volume cluster will be a zone of interest. S&P's getting close to that 4,000. I really want to watch it just to see it happen, you know. Another one of those moments. Although I did miss Dow hitting 30K. I'm a little upset about that. I didn't even realize it hit 30 by the time it hit 31. I was so out of the loop with the Dow. Given the volume, I think the rest of the planet's kind of out of the loop with the Dow. Still seeing a lot of volume building up on the 71.75s, fighting over the DP zone, cracking higher. That brings in the L1 a little bit further up. If it keeps going a little bit higher, that'll actually line the L1 up with the first 5 volume cluster. That'd be even better. More momentum to the upside. L1 is getting very close. It's almost right on top now of that first 5. That doesn't mean it's going to stop the market, but out of all the places to pull back, that would be a really nice one. Now L1 is above. $289.75 is the high. L1 is now above that zone. That's a nasty bear bar on the top. All right. Well, while the NASDAQ is continuing to not pull back, let's see what the S&P's up to. First 5 volume cluster is at 39.88, and honestly, that's also right at the top of that previous bull bar. That's a really nice area of interest. And that still leaves upside objectives inside of the highs. Perfect. So 39.88 is going to be the area of interest on the S&P if it does want to pull back. The NASDAQ still maintaining the high close at 89.75. Also maintaining absolutely no pullback. Looking at the continuation rally to the upside, we've got, I mean, it's about as obvious of a man, what a squeeze. This is why you don't get married to your positions. Sheesh. Man, what did that, I mean, since the open, it hasn't stopped going up. They had a small, the pullback, that was the low, 1775. They're up about 1.3% from there. Jeez. I guess that's going to be the swing low of the day in terms of continuation. So instead of using this larger one back here to see if we can get it in just a bit narrower. S&P, strong bear bar on the top. That makes me a little bit less interested. Let's see. If they trigger in 88.75, then sellers' targets are going to be at 87.75, and I would rather have them help me. I'll go a little lower. Still churning higher. It won't even go for like a washout. At least not yet. A quick little snap underneath like the 80s. Be a fantastic point to wash out underneath, but I mean solely for scalpers. And you'd still prefer to go a little further back towards like the 75s. Next news announcement still has some time, so there's not really any concern about that. That's at 10 o'clock with the ISM manufacturing PMI. Now, if the S&P goes down, that would be a bear engulfing candle, and I'm going to have to say hard pass to that. Although I don't believe that a bear engulfing candle is going to stick around enough to actually turn the market lower, it is enough for me to potentially stay away from it a little bit at least. Or if they are going to turn it down, look for a slightly wider move, more likely. Actually, it still lines up at 87.75. Okay, well, I guess if it's going to line up perfectly, then sure. I can't argue with fate. Still waiting for a little bit more of a pullback here on the NASDAQ. Currently, the L1 zone of interest is lining up really nicely with the previous resistance that was at 264. Kind of left that in the dust. Crude oil with a big pullback here. Crude oil on a big old pullback. Look at that flush. Sheesh. Big giant bear engulfing candle. If they can start dipping below down into that 60, you've got whole level support, you've got moving average cluster of support, major previous swing low that broke. That's also about a 50% pullback, just eyeballing it. Lots of things line up down in those 60s for crude. Very interesting if crude can dip down there. A little bit more volatility showing up on the NASDAQ. See if we can get that dip down. Still looking for around the 275. NASDAQ looks like yesterday. Deja vu, I know, right? Whoa. Well, howdy ho there, the S&P. Good Lord. Okay. Well, let me just throw a few contracts out here. That happened a little faster than I was expecting. Let's see if they can get a climb back up to... I mean, it's going to have to be 88.75. Am I really going to argue over that after that kind of flush? Nah. Out on the pop back higher. Jeez, that S&P just... Holy crap. That thing's starting to move better than the NASDAQ now. All right, well, good continuation bounce. It was a good call to line it up around that volume at 87.75, but man, that flushed fast. Crude oil's got that giant washout candle on the 15-minute. This is where buyers are going to fight over swing longs and try to pressure the market back up again. The obvious hope here, if you're looking at crude, is that this failure down is just the trap. So far, given the rotation off the lows, okay. It looks like a great V bottom. A lot of times with V bottoms, you get that higher low pullback. So I would expect it to be at least an L3. 59.83. Preferably L4 or 5. So we got a ways to go yet. S&P with a nice continued bounce back to the upside. Not really much else going on. Maybe the ISM can pull it back. Yeah, for sure. Something. I can't be a buyer way the heck up here and look to hang on for anything of substance, you know? I would like to be long. Still. but unfortunately, they had that... I mean, it just keeps going. It is. It's like a deja vu from yesterday. And look at this thing. Oof. S&P buyers kind of failing the follow through here. Granted, there is still 2 minutes left. I'm not seeing anything happening on the NASDAQ. April's going to be risk on historically. Also the best month for equities. Yeah. Well, and typically, you know, if they're following the historical cycle, January, February is usually really good for penny stocks. And it was. So, I mean, it does seem like the trends are still staying through and through. Even though the markets are a bit crazier, the trends are still sticking. So, definitely something to pay attention to. Yeah, I saw a few people sending me a message about the date. Luckily, I update the link, but sometimes I forget about the date. I'm half tempted just to take the date off. I mean... Sun shining without euphoria market. Yeah. For now, at least. Summer's usually when, like, flu and all that stuff kind of... I mean... I don't know. We'll see. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on now, NASDAQ. Nice quick little pullback. Can they get a wash? I mean, I need a washout. Not like, I need more than this. Good start. S&P following up another nice inside bear bar, but if the buyers push it back up again, they could try to rifle back up, but S&P is now pushing below the first 5 volume, 39.88. I have no idea what the CME schedule is. I saw like 3 or 4 different emails coming in, and some of them were like, oh, correction. Like, I feel like nobody else knows what's going on either. I don't know. I'm just not going to pay attention tomorrow. Bulls trying to continue back up. Incredible amount of separation going on here. 3 press wedge low could be the next alternative. Why does this thing keep getting so big? But I need something more than just these little baby 1 candle pullbacks. If we look at the overall structuring, we are breaking above that big 13,264 area. Really didn't think it was going to make it up that far, but here we are. 3 press low, honestly, could still happen. That'd actually be really nice. Then we'd have a megaphone on the top, and that's lining up really well. Ooh, okay. So we might be lining up a couple things here for a better pullback if they can get one good spike down. Possible megaphone at the top. S&P's trying to curl back up. Ethereum showing really good continuation to the upside. Bitcoin, they got some work to do on Bitcoin. Starting to display a pretty big undertow up here. I mean, obviously, but if we get rid of that big spike, even through these smaller ones. Bull engulfing on the S&P fires off above 90. So if they can hit 90 quarter, that completes the bull engulfing. I'm not interested in buying the bull engulfing. But I would like seeing the bull engulfing trigger, which it just did, and then see if we can get a little inside pullback. So the high was at 90 quarter. 89 quarter would be the zone of interest, but I would rather fill on the lows and see if they want to dip back. So S&P has a bull engulfing. Looking for an inside pullback after. It might mean that I miss the trade, but I don't like buying high on the S&P. Yeah, an undertow. What I'm referring to an undertow basically means a repetitious divergence on the MACD. So it's not just like a regular divergence like you'd find in the stochastic. It's one that just keeps going and going and going. Like the market keeps going higher and higher, but the MACD keeps going down and down and down and down. That would be an undertow, where it's demonstrating that the market is overvalued. It's gone too far, and there's a bit of an undertow that could suck the market back down again. As long as they progressively keep making those lower highs, lower lows on the MACD as well, then it's a clearly defined undertow. But if they break above that and kind of dismantle it, then that's the chance. That's their opportunity. All right, buyers finally getting an inside pullback, looking for a continuation pop back up at the moment 90 quarter, which is the earlier buyer's original entry point. Which is nice for me, because if they're getting out of break even, that means that the fill should be a little bit easier. No, just kidding. They'll be coming from the underside, so they'll be sellers. Makes my life harder. We'll see if they can pop up, though. The major 5-minute volume cluster is a little bit lower. NASDAQ still hasn't pulled back yet. I'm sure at some point it'll try to, maybe. We've got about 5 minutes until news. 10 o'clock ISM manufacturing PMI. Yeah, that was just kind of the best thing that I could think of, because it's sort of what it feels like. You know, it looks calm. It looks like everything's fine. And then you stick your leg in it and you end up dying. It's like, oh, okay, well. Guess not. $88 quarter tested, but no fill. Gold continuing to rally up through the highs. NASDAQ still hasn't seen a pullback. Got filled on the secondary portion. 88.75 down to 89.75. Aggressive scalpers would even potentially target 89 quarter, so we might even see a response there. If we do see a response at 89 quarter, then that would be a clue that traders are just getting out at a 1 point, even between two. Are they finally going to give a pullback? Of course, when I decide to go long. Go figure. Do 3. That's fine. At the original entry point. 88.50, and then try to hold the last one back up towards 89 quarter. Actually, if they're going to dip lower, they're probably going to push below that. It doesn't make sense to challenge there. They should be able to pop higher here. Just a little more, yes. I know I never get slippage on targets, but how about a herky-jerky move to the upside and just fill everything? I can hope, right? Hope does not equal trading strategy. Gold finding a bit of resistance off DP at 1729. NASDAQ still hasn't pulled back. Although it's getting close. Whoop, that's not the one I wanted. It's lining up really nicely with the bottom of the megaphone, too. Now we're starting to kind of get that pinpoint. Still waiting for the S&P, but we know how the S&P rolls. This thing takes a half a century to actually move. Unless it decides to move lately, apparently. Euro plotting a pretty nasty 15-minute bar on the highs. Gold showing one heck of a rejection off that DP zone. Jeez. If we look at this as a zone of interest across the board, this is pretty... I mean, the biggest point of volume, I know it's kind of hard to see as it's light, but it's right there. And they kind of pinged off of that so far. We're still massively overextended. Starting to see volume show up ahead of news. There's the news. We did get that herky-jerky move to the upside. Couldn't finish the job, though. All right, I'm just going to take it off there. This news, what a mess. Oy. We did end up getting the pop higher, but man, talk about sitting through a train wreck. You can see nobody's interested. As soon as it went up, everyone's like, yeah, F this thing. They're all gone. Watch out below. Big bear bar to the downside, but that could follow through with a bit of oomph. I'm watching this L1 zone, the bottom of the wedge. I don't necessarily want to be the first one to the party, but if we can get a good two-legged correction at some point in my life on the NASDAQ, I would appreciate that. S&P, really nice bullish continuation to the upside. The problem is all of the wicks are on the top. I have a hard time trusting that. Just need a nice little dip lower. NASDAQ's getting there. Also potentially creating a secondary wedge. Down there is what I'm looking for. Nondescript. Be a nice little blow off through the lows here. First press down into the lows. I was only able to get one, so I mean, if we see a bounce of like 17 to 20, then I'll just take it, but assuming I can get filled. I saw it there, but I didn't get a fill. All right. Look at all the profit taking going out at 282. Sheesh. All right. Let's see if we can get another little dip down into there. We never actually physically tested the zone. Just picked it up on the lows of that that tighter wedge. See if they can get another pulse to the downside. Here's the secondary pulse. A lot of buyers, if they're going to be a little more aggressive on this, should try to hang around a bit longer. Unless they're going to get that slightly bigger pulse down. Oof, those buyers stepping up to the plate pretty quick. Yep, nice bullish continuation. Keep going. Don't pull, no. You're losing the 80s. All right, I'm out. Started dipping back below the 80s. I needed to see them stay above there for the strength to try to kick back against this bearishness, and it couldn't do it. It might still do it, but it's going to do it without me. It's not worth the risk of holding on anymore. Not with at least not with how quick it's moving. If it was moving a little bit slower, you might be able to get away with it. But this thing going 30 ticks back to your break even in a blink of an eye it's just not worth giving it back, you know. I tried grabbing 19. By the time I hit the button, it was down at 11. It's like, oh, okay. Guess I missed that one. Give me a little bit of a blow off this time. I need to see a bit more overdrive. I need more than that. Come on. Nice little overdrive move there. A bit more. Ugh, didn't get a fill. There we go. There we go. Nice drive down into this area of support. This is where buyers are going to try to look for that bounce back. Stacking a couple scalp targets out on this pop. Woo, lordy. Whoo, hello. Beautiful overdrive into that low. Uh-oh, they're diving back down again. If the buyers don't take this pretty quick, they're going to start cracking through that 64. It's wishy-washy down here. Next zone of interest would be back towards like the 55s to 50s. It's starting to get pretty low though. Big pulse down to it would be pretty nice. It's the wrong way. Down to it, NASDAQ. S&P still eyeballing that 4,000 mark. They're breaking above that previous bull bar. We're trying to see a bit more continuation to the upside. I don't really want to... I really don't want to be looking to buy above these bull bars unless there's enough space, and it's all wicks up here. So, I mean, even though it looks really strong, I still have a pretty tough time. Made my awesome work. Great job. NASDAQ's his name of the game is taking it from crypto. BTFD. Wow. Whoa. Okay. Hello. All of those shorts who are trying to get this move down are getting dumpstered right now. Probably going to see a rally back up towards the 300s. Would like to see them flush back towards the 81s. There's a nice VVP there to try to fill in. If they can get just a lit... Well, I don't like that bear bar on the top, though. Give me some sideways or some, like a doji or something. That bear bar on the high. Okay, there we go. All right, give me a nice little dive down. Nice little area of support down here for buyers to try to kick this back up to the upside. Continuation up for scalpers targets. Nice. Beautiful bounce back up. Right ahead of that volume node at 84.50. If they break above that, then probably 88.75. Nice little pop back. No shorting to be done yet for me. A lot of strength so far today. Yeah, this thing is just annihilating shorts. If shorts were married to their positions yesterday and they didn't get exit, I mean, if they didn't exit, oh man, there's blood in the streets. They're getting ripped in half right now, which for longs is fantastic. Because that means the move will go a little bit quicker. We are after 10 o'clock. That's all the big news for today. Although today is Thursday, we do have natural gas news at 10:30. I don't really watch nat gas personally, but it's there. Outside of that, there isn't really anything else going on. Keep in mind, tomorrow is a holiday, so I don't know what hours the CME's doing. I got like 7 different emails. I don't think anybody knows what hours the CME's doing tomorrow. I'm not going to be paying attention at all. Everything's going to be closed, in my opinion, so... a lot of people are going to be approaching this as the same way, extended weekend, so early in, early out. A lot of traders probably ducking out going into 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, a little bit sooner. So don't expect volume to stay crazy. Unless some news comes out. All it takes is a tweet. Jeez. Huge drive to the upside. Wow. The euro's getting smashed right now. Got to get the sim losses back. Well, hey, at least the sim is the part that's on the losses side, right? That's the important part. Protect the capital. I like it. Looks like a really nice two-legged pulse to the upside, which, although looks nice and strong, is a bit concerning if they can't keep going. Where is it? Oh. A lot of congestion going on up here at the top. Kind of looking like they're trying to either prove another pulse or fail. Kind of curious. What's the volume looking like on this last spike? Ooh, that's not good. That doesn't help. That doesn't help anybody. See if we can get a deeper pullback. They did get the L1 pullback. So as far as the completionary move, that took place. We had plenty of opportunities off that L1. Now that we've got the L1 and the L1 continuation, they've already proven that continuation. Now, I mean, it's still possible that we hold another L1. Typically, when we're getting this late in the morning, I say late, it's only been 30 minutes into the stock exchange in the NYSE session, but when we're starting to get into this area, this is when I'm starting to think, you know what, yeah, they might hold an L1 and they might keep this going, but I'm thinking L2. I want to see the buyers take a little bit of a break. I want to see them, just like we were talking about yesterday, that never happened. It's the same thing here. I want to see the buyers take a break. And, well, if they can, this time, I'll be interested. And that would be at an L2. And primarily, this lines up so nicely with everything else. We've got the first 5-minute volume node of interest, a possible 3-press wedge to the bottom. We've got the major resistance now turned into support. All of those sellers who were short getting out of break even, which likely happened already a bit here. It's just a lot of things stacking up in the same spot. So if we can get the market to kind of pull back to that area, that'll be a really nice zone. Where it is now is a bit of a problem. S&P, really strong bullish continuation, bull gapping to the upside as well. Very likely buyers will be buying into that gap, trying to keep that gap open. So from the top, they closed at 93.25. Again, I would rather see the buyers take a little bit of a break. Trying to buy a little bit deeper. NASDAQ making a new high. Also importantly, looking at the daily on the NASDAQ, we're starting to break above that previous area. And remember, this is a huge, massive zone because the buyers who got stuck the last time we were at L1 have never been given a chance to get out. Remember that? We've been talking about that for weeks. They finally are getting close again. They can almost taste it. 13,360. It's right there. Do you smell it? It's right there. The buyers are trying so hard to get it. I'm very interested to see what their response is there. In my opinion, that's the last ditch for sellers to try to hold this back down. If they can't hold it back down, like from 600s and lower, then it's just going to pulse to a new high and we'll be back to 14K. But this is a massive zone. Still waiting for the L2. Might be a minute. S&P also waiting for a quick little dip. The top of the L1 price, 13,358 if you're running a little bit ahead of it. Technically it's 60, but I mean, you're talking a daily chart here, so it's likely from like 58 to 65. It's in that area. I just want to see it hit somewhere in there. Physically test the top of that L1, and okay. So the 60.75 is the exact price. Which is still it's got a ways to go yet, but I'm going to change this one. 30, crap. What was the number? I totally lost it. 60.75, that's what it was. I wasn't expecting that number to be so close. Doesn't have far to go. It's like 100 points, but... No pullback on the S&P. We are completing candle gapping to the upside, which means that the bulls on the S&P are looking for a continuation with upside objectives at the moment, at least, at around 98.25, which is perfect for buyers. If they can close in that gap just a little bit, which is what I'll be looking for at 92.25, 91.25 point increments on the way down. See if they can backfill a little bit. Oops, before I forget. Candle gap target right there. Still continuing the drive. It's so close. This thing is a little bit of a spike in a little bitty channel after the spike. And then VIPs, I've got a couple of the one-on-one calls that are scheduled for today. I still haven't figured out the issue with TeamViewer, and the alternative, after a little bit more testing on some of my other computers, I'm a little bit displeased with its performance across the board on some of the others. So I'm going to have to push my calls from today until, well, tomorrow's a holiday, so until next week. I'll post it all in the announcements board, but just a heads up in case you're not paying attention to it. I wanted you to hear it as well. And then by next week, we should be back up with a solution again. I really would like something a little bit cleaner. That's the one that I was testing, and I have it installed, and the problem is it'll work, but the quality is really, really bad. And there were a couple other issues that I was noticing as well, and I'm not a huge fan of the security side of things with it after testing a couple other things. It makes me a little bit nervous in terms of an application. Like, for me, I understand it, like I get it, but it could easily get people into trouble, which I don't want to have happen either. So it's something that, as long as you're just doing simple things with it, it'll work, but I need a better solution that's not going to mess with people too much. And that one just doesn't fit the bill. Well, actually, it fits the bill. It's actually very cheap, but it doesn't fit what I was looking for. I was looking at the differences between the two. TeamViewer, it's just, ugh. I don't know. I need something a bit more solid. Starting to get a little bit of a pullback. Previous bull bar's low, 93.25. Actually, they still technically haven't really cracked a proper bull bar's low, have they? Okay. 93 quarter. Down to 91 quarter. It's a little bit further up. So as far as the tolerances is mostly just for scalping, but my R3 pivot point on Ninja is at 13,634.58. Is that the same as your L1? It's not identical, but it's very close. So if you're looking to stack things on top of it to add even more to it, there you go. Not to mention that that's going to be... That's 2 DPs up. Not to say that it can't close up there. S&P. Ay. So close. NASDAQ trying to climb back up again. They attempted to break out of the highs, although it never closed, and then failed through the bottom. So buyers will be trying to kick this back up to the high. It's forcing people to buy really far up again. The 15-minute NASDAQ has maxi divergence, but the 60 doesn't. So that would tell us then that, you know, the nearer term still has some problems, but the longer term is still technically okay. Although it might see some problems in the near future if it can't change its course. Use the simple default pivots in the 9MA with a 203 stochastic. A 7,203 stochastic. Interesting. I don't think I've ever gone that far out on a setting with a stochastic. Very cool. I'm with you. I think it's just a matter of time before we see another pulse back to the upside to finish the job. There are a lot of psychological things that are waiting at the top. The 200 was an accident and I liked it. Nice. That's how the best things are found, right? That's how we got our moving averages. These are just the random number generators from Google. I love it. Lower high, buyers still having some trouble. If they're going to kick this back up, they're going to want to do it from this inside bear bar. Which still means 93.25 makes sense. All right, here we go. Nice little overdrive move back down to the 95s. See if they can go a little bit lower into the 95s would be a zone of interest. just underneath 96, really. S&P fills the entry for buyers back up. 94.25 is the objective. NASDAQ couldn't quite get the job done on that overflush. S&P tests the target, but no fill. There we go. All right, we're going on 10:30, and we're going on to the last day of the week. I'm not really interested in putting any other risk on the table here. It's already been a bit of a challenging week on my end, with yesterday kicking me square in the teeth. Let me look at the numbers for the week. So this would be a good example, because it is a losing week, how negative numbers will look. So, just for this week, again, 64.15. Let me get the calculator. So, 64.15 minus 100. 35 times the average losing trade of 106. 3,800. Which leaves a remainder 64.15 times the average winning trade of 45. Again, I got my teeth kicked in. Minus 3,800.1. So from a numbers perspective, our normal week is around a positive 1,000. So as far as a bad week, a negative 1,000 still is right around the area that you would expect it to come into. We didn't do anything crazy. There wasn't anything out of touch. We didn't break any rules, or at least for me. I mean, everybody's different. This is just my analysis of me. But, you know, nothing was really out of the norm. It was just a losing week. It happens. Welcome to life. There's nothing you can do about it. So that at least shows us that we were following the plan correctly. It just didn't work. Oh, sorry, I missed your question. 15-minute NAS. Didn't I answer that? Oh, no, above that. I'm sorry. Hang on. What do you need to see? Is it 15-minute MACD divergence to know that the move is finished and the divergence is done? But really good question. So as far as MACD divergences, one thing that you have to keep in mind is the way that the MACD operates, right? I utilize the MACD as a slower indicator. If I want a fast indication, I'll use a stochastic or an RSI or something that's designed to be quick. MACDs are slow, and that's how I use them. That's why the settings for them are so much slower. So as far as the MACD settings and the overall movement, when I'm looking at divergences, let me get a clean screen. Duplicate this in a new window. Do not instrument link this. It's not instrument linked. Okay. And then let's go to the micro NASDAQ. 500 tick. We'll just have a few extra candles, whatever. Let's get that over there. Oh, it's still loading. I was going to say, what? Okay. There we go. So one thing that we were kind of talking about already this morning is what I like to refer to as an undertow. So as an example, this would be an undertow where the market is continuing to go up and 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 up. But the MACD is saying, well, nah, you might want to be careful. Right? This high, yeah, we've got some double tops, but since then it's been downtrending. This is the undertow. This is telling you that there's a potential that although the market is going higher, the structure behind it, the support, the lattice work, whatever you want to call it, your support beams, they're not there, or they're made of balsa wood, like whatever. It's just not going to be potentially strong enough if it starts pulling back to bounce up on a higher low aggressive pullback. So this would give us a clue that I no longer want to be an L1 buyer. I want to be an L2 buyer. I want to look for a little bit of a deeper move. Or, whatever you're using to find entries, but something a little bit deeper. Breaking below some of these previous swing lows, etc. If I were already long and I were trailing my stop along the way with some of these lows, and I saw something like this with an undertow, I would say, okay, well, I have one of two choices. I can either leave my stop way far back and just hope that the undertow doesn't take it out, which, okay, if you've got like one contract left out of 10 and you're letting it run, sure, I could see that. But the majority of folks aren't going to want to give back a huge runner. So what they'll end up doing instead is just accept the fact that, okay, I'll try to trail my stop up and it'll take me out. It might take me out a little bit early. So what? I'd rather be out wishing I was in than in wishing I was out. Right? And then they end up getting taken out on that lower low. And that's where a lot of buyers will utilize as a reload opportunity because of the amount of volume that's coming in down here. They can gobble it up if they're still bullish. And that's where you'll see it reverse back to the upside, which is what we had here. So you can utilize it as clues, but when it starts breaking out of that structure, when it starts breaking down away from it, so let's see here. I have to see, is there a time where it, okay, yeah, well, like right here is a really good example. So there's a vicious undertow here where the market was still making highs, but the MACD was saying no. And then what did it do? If we draw a trend line from those peaks, it broke above it and it stayed above it. It actually created a new cycle even from the MACD. So that would tell you that this divergence doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Right? If they would have broke it and then immediately spiked back down, then that was just a whack D. We know those. I got a video on them. But in this case, it wasn't. It broke above it, held above it, and continued. That tells you that it's broken. So that would have given you an indication about there that you weren't going to get that turn. When it starts making those higher highs, higher lows, breaking the previous high, challenging the previous swings. You can kind of look at it just like a market of its own. It's just a reflection of what you're looking at up here. Sometimes it just gives you a truer reflection. And in this case, it didn't work. And it would have been a loss if you were trying to look at it from the short side of things. But it would have also given you some clues that something was wrong. And while it's continuing back to the upside, there's no divergences. There's nothing saying that there's anything wrong until we start running into here, where, again, we start seeing a little bit of an undertow. Now, this time around, we've got 3 presses to the highs. Now they made a nice pullback. That was the clue that that pullback was going to happen, potentially. Then it started rotating back up. It broke above the trend line, started reversing back up, and that was the clue that it probably wasn't going to come back down again. It ended up coming back to that zone, but it was still a higher low. And if you look at it from a MACD perspective, it actually double bottomed. It's a pretty fair indication, right? Look at it like a market. You've got a double bottom, triple bottom, higher low reversal. It did the same thing up here, just in a different spot. That's the cool thing about MACD. Because it's sort of a reflection of the market above, you can utilize it with its own kind of separated analysis. So like for the early morning session, where it was just going up and up and up and up and up. If we look at the MACD, we've got double tops, kind of lower highs, lower lows. I mean, if there is an undertow, it really didn't start stepping up until about here on these most recent highs. And that gave you the clue that the pullback was coming. Huh. Oh, crazy. It's almost like that's exactly what we talked about. And then it rotated back up, and what did it do? It broke out of that structure. And it told you that you're probably not going to get the rotation. Now, what's it back to? Breakout pullback. We're back to the breakout point. If it wants to go lower, double bottom is what we've been seeing more recently as a zone of interest. From the MACD's perspective, although it's weird to look at it that way, the double bottom on the MACD would be at like a negative 4.3-ish. But we're seeing the breakout pullback from that standpoint, and you can see the buyers coming in. So it's a useful tool for a lot more than just one thing, is what I'm getting at here. Normally I would be looking to do a I was thinking like a YouTube webinar or something like that, like a fun weekend event for members on YouTube and VIPs. But obviously it's a holiday weekend. It's a little bit awkward. I'm going to be out most of the time, so it just didn't line up. Usually, I thought it would be kind of cool just as like a total messing around kind of thing. Do some chart analysis, whatever, with members, and then do some like games or something. I don't know if many of you are gamers or not, but we can talk about like NFT games, and we can still keep it market oriented. One of the games that I play a lot of is Gods Unchained, which is based on the I was going to say EOS platform, but that's not. That's on the, I believe it's the Link platform, which is why it's called what it is. But NFT games, I like it. The fact that you can play games and make money at the same time, that's what I'm talking about. And keep in mind, if any of these sound interesting, don't just straight up, I mean, you can if you want to. You don't have to use referral codes or anything like that from me. By all means, do your thing. But if you want to check them out, send me a message, and I'll send you a message, whether it's in Discord or whatever, with referral links for them, because a lot of times we both get kickbacks. And it's a really nice way to start out the game. Like everyone who joined on Upland through that referral link that I posted, I believe got an extra like 2,000 or 2,500, which, I mean, in real world money is like 250, but still, you know, $2 to click a link. Hey, and potentially accumulate NFTs. That's, yeah, you're right up my alley. Is the 500 tick still good to trade on the MNQ? Good question. It's very fast. It can be done. I would look at it more from a psychological perspective. I would like the 500 tick on the MNQ, or even faster, like a 250 tick on the MNQ, if I were really heavily focused on volume and looking at the current volume versus the past volume, because it's going to be very much based in the realm of psychology because it's so quick. So it's not going to be, I mean, there will be some technicals for sure, but it's going to be a lot more fundamental trading going on. Which, if you're good at psychological scalping, is a playground. Just like what we saw today. Not much to do from a swing perspective, but I'm actually finding, I don't remember if you were there on the weekend webinar or not, for members. I thought you, I don't remember. My memory's, well, you know my memory. Either way, you can watch the recording back. But the faster time frame that we were talking about, that's one that's actually gaining quite a bit of interest from me personally. I find myself watching it more and more from a volume psychological perspective. It's very fun to watch. But if you're not a scalper on the MNQ, how would the 500 tick help? I would use the 500 tick as your entry time frame, where you're looking for, you know, L1s, L2s, divergences, patterns, wedges, whatever, however you're entering into it. I would use the 500 tick for that, but that's it. I would wait for like at least a 5-minute, maybe a 15-minute, somewhere in there to get into a zone of interest to place a trade. And then you're just zooming into the 500 tick for the faster structure. So, you know, as an example, if I were looking to be a buyer on L1s and L2s on an aggressive breakaway move on the 15-minute to the upside on this NASDAQ psychotic break move, when we have this kind of move to the upside, I want to see they're reversing off of L3s, okay? Went a little bit further, continued off of an L2. Now we've got a breakaway, not even pulling back to L1s, and then goes screaming higher. Where's the first pullback likely going to be? L1, right? So I'm an L1 trader on a 15-minute chart. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to, I mean, I could place the trade on the 15-minute chart and just call it a day and say, you know what, I'm just going to, boom, I'm going to buy here. My stop's going to go underneath L1 and my target's back to the highs. Wang, bang, and we're ready to go. Sure. I mean, you know, to each their own. But the other way to approach it would be zooming into the faster time frame and looking for more structure. Right out of the gates, I can already see there's a huge amount of structure here. There's a massive reason why buyers would want to be long on this reversal back up. So knowing that that's the case, then obviously this is an awkward time at 4 p.m. But if we go into the faster time frame now at around 4 p.m., let me make this all charts. And then we can zoom into over here on the 500 tick. And then we can look at when the market is coming into that zone. So you'll notice, right, we were breaking above that resistance zone. We were talking about the 120s, 130s being the barrier. I don't want to see them break. Guess what they did? They broke above it. They said, hey, I don't care what you want, John. You're wrong, GTFO, or we're going to run you over. They came back the first time around as a warning signal. They came back the second time. That was good enough for me. And the reversal started coming back in. So if you're looking to play this on a faster time frame, then this is where you're looking for your entry points. Like I said, the timing is really awkward because it's like 8 at night. But that's where it kind of took off. And if you're looking for a repetitious move to the upside, we have a bullish L1. What else do we need to see from a trend perspective? I need to see higher highs, higher lows. If we're looking back at the most confirmed swing, here to here to here to, oh, wait a minute. We don't have a break of that yet. Even up here, we don't have a break of that yet. It's a double top. They finally break above it over here. So now if buyers want to step up on the aggression side, it would make sense. We've got an L1 on the 15-minute chart screaming higher, and you're able to kind of carry it along the way of that same continuation move. Sure, if you wanted to be aggressive, technically all the moving averages and everything went bullish here, but depends on how early you want to get into the trade, I guess, and what your approach is. But that's what I mean. The actual zone is based off the 15-minute chart. But the entry patterning, whether it's a wedge or an L1 or whatever you're doing, a broken camel upside down pattern, whatever, that's going to be where you're looking for it to take place. NASDAQ still has not made it up to that massive point up there. They're trying. Whoa, crude oil just got obliterated. Whoa. What is that 15-minute bar on crude? Holy moly. I believe the terminology for that is oof. Yikes. That is one monster of a continuation to the downside. Those 3 bear bars, if it closes down like this, that's no joke. And here we go again. This is another really good example of cycles and how they repeat on the macro and micro phase. If we zoom in even closer, really strong breakaway move. Right? We've just got a major reversal off of a low. It goes screaming higher. L1 pullback, L1 pullback, L1 pullback, barely pulling back at all. All of the traders are trailing their stops up. What's it going to do? Deeper pullback. Whips everyone out and then goes screaming all the way back up to the highs again. Even on the micro phase, you see it over and over. Happens all the time. All right, we're going on 1040. Not seeing much else to really sink my teeth into. I think it's been a great day overall. And this week it was a little bit of a challenge, but like we saw from the math perspective, nothing out of the ordinary, just a typical week. So that's a good sign, at least. Hopefully next week will be a little bit kinder for me. Fingers crossed once we get into the new month and everything is kind of back to normal. It'll be a little bit more consistent, but oh well. It happens, right? The best thing that we can do is take those losses and learn from them. And that's what we did. We learned that, at least for me, I learned that I didn't do anything wrong. I traded the plan correctly. Just a losing week. Cope with it. Deal with it. Accept it. Part of business. Move on. Easier said than done if you're newer to the game. Or even not. Depending on how big the loss is, it can be a real psychological blow, especially going into a long weekend. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, all of the crypto side of things. Let's take a look here. Oh, crap. That's right. Let's see here. Let me try disconnecting Coinbase and trying again. Please work. Come on, EOS. You're the only one that's looking funny right now. Come on. Yes! All right. There we go. So starting off, first off, on the Bitcoin side of things, the big thing that stands out, obviously 60K, a little bit ahead of 60K. There's a huge brick wall, 59,000 to 60,000, and the market is running square into it. There is obviously the concern of a slight undertow that's forming that is giving us a precaution that there might be some potential bearishness to come. That may have already happened, to be fair. Because, I mean, honestly, the whole way up, we really haven't seen much of an undertow. It was actually telling us to go bullish this whole time. So this move to the upside, it's making higher highs. It's going along the way. I mean, it's not doing anything out of the norm. The only thing that's a little bit of a bummer is that it's trying to break down a little bit, which, again, is alluding to a potential deeper pullback. If I wanted to be a buyer on a deeper pullback, looking at this from a structural side of things, we have the reversal off of the lows, which is an L3. Nice reversal in terms of an aggressive trend, which we now know, in hindsight, obviously, it's a very aggressive trend. Kicked up into an L2, lifted higher into an L1, continued into an L1, continued into an L1. Missed the L1, popped to a new high, quick dove. So close to an L2. Man, did they tickle that L2. Missed it. And now they rallied back up, and look at what they're holding. They're holding the inside L1 again. So, I mean, you can see where the fight is. The fight is right here. They've got to make a decision. Buyers failed. Sellers failed. Everybody's failing. The most recent failure is the sellers. So I've got to give the bias to the bulls. Maybe not by much. I would still prefer a deeper pullback, but it's there. Deeper pullback would be an L2, maybe even an L3, because if you look back where all of this movement to the upside started, it started there. And if they're going to dip back to a value area of interest, it's right there. Top of the L3, DP zone of support, entry defense, everything lines up right around 55,750. So that's where I'm waiting for. Over on Ethereum. Ethereum has some really nice continuation to the upside. I'm missing data, and I do not dare reload my chart for fear of the entire thing crashing again. So I guess I'll just use what I've got more recently. Actually, no, I'm not content with that. I'll risk it. If it doesn't work, I'll use TradingView. See what you make me do, Ninja? You have to make me default to a different platform. Okay, it worked. Yes. Hooray. So now with a bit more context here, I can zoom out a little bit further and see what's going on. So obviously we had that really massive drive to the downside. That was nothing more than that phenomenally beautiful, exquisite 3-press wedge low. That was probably one of the best setups that I think we could have ever seen happen here. Ended up being an avalanche wedge and broke out higher with a higher low reversal. A couple attempts on that with some traps. Those traps help a lot because if we add this together and we look at the overall continuation, this would have allowed earlier shorts to get out of break even. That was also the impulse leg, L1 pullback, L1 pullback, L1 pullback, finally got the dive. That was that one right there. Guess where a lot of stops are going to go? They're going to go underneath that one. Guess what got gobbled alive? All of those stops. So knowing that all of those stops were, in hindsight, obviously accumulated, even with that fantastic wick to the back, ripped back to the upside, here we go again, right? From lows to highs, L1, 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 still inside of an L1. Now we're starting to see a little bit of double bottom action. They're pulling back a little bit more. If we're going from the bottom to top, we're now starting to dip back to the bottom of the L1, continuing back to the highs. Now we're getting into L2 territory. Look at the amount of support that came in at the base of that L2. And look what happens when it failed. They gave up. And that thing went screaming to the downside. Where did it go? Buyers are still looking for value. It's just the L2 buyers failed. Who's going to try next? L3. They didn't even show up to the party. At least not yet. So this move to the upside really didn't give a whole lot of clue, except there. As soon as it reversed off the lows, it was gone. And this is why some of the best reversals happen on L4s, at least in L3, L4, L5, because it gave traders the chance to load up before the move. When you've got this, it's just L1, 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 L1 all the way up. Well, nobody really has a chance to respond to that. So those typically give you the deeper pullbacks later on. At the time, it's really nice and aggressively bullish. It just causes problems later. So far, if we look at this from a trending perspective, the MACD in the very wide perspective is still making continuation to the upside. But, I mean, if we look at the inside swings, aside from that blow off, they're still staying above it. Barely higher lows. They're still going. I don't know about anymore. My gaming capabilities went out the window when I had kids and lost my time to play games and started teaching them how to beat me. I tell you what though, you play my son in Smash Bros, he'll just whale you in half. It's ridiculous. He's actually really, like, I know he's only 6. He plays Fortnite with me. He's probably one of the best teammates I think I've ever had. He sticks with me really well. I know 6 playing Fortnite. I mean, you can turn whatever. But he's really good. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, I tell you that much. Competitive gaming, maybe? Then I can retire and he can pay for the home in Boca, right? Professional gaming's where the money's at now, right? Except NFL. So Ethereum has that higher low reversal, but honestly, I would like a little bit more of a dip. This is the proving point. So we'll see. We have 3 pulses to the upside. Scares the crap out of me, but there's no undertow. Litecoin's looking pretty good. They're still holding this nice channel to the upside. There's honestly not much to talk about there yet. Get him on a PC quick. Yeah, I have his PC built. I don't know what happened, but the power supply is burned out. So I had everything ready to go. Maybe I did something stupid, but I'm always grounded. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I'm not an idiot. But you never know. I might have had my own personal blonde moment, and there goes the power supply. But I can't get the stupid thing to turn on. I don't know if I missed a key. I got to go back through it again. I've got him a computer built. I just have to like get it to work. You know, key part of that. Yeah, exactly. The good Boca. Let's see it, Boca Raton, not the Florida one. No. All right, well, that's going to do it. We are, like I said, going into an extended weekend. There's no room tomorrow. There's nothing going on tomorrow. The markets are closed. We're going into Good Friday holiday. I am unfortunately probably going to be spending the majority of my holiday working on a solution to TeamViewer. But if you got any, if you have any thoughts or ideas, feel free to shoot me those feel free to shoot me those via email because I'm looking for alternatives. But as we go into the weekend, one thing that we always say, make sure to take a break, get away from the markets. I know crypto's open 24/7. I get it. But you know, just take a break. We make more decisions in a day than most people make in a week. We need some mental rest so we can come back on Monday ready to rock and roll, or Sunday night, depending on when your addiction has to get fed. But that's going to do it. Wait. Where are you going, NASDAQ? Go down. Yeah. I don't know if NASDAQ's ever going to pull back at this point. I mean, eventually I'm sure it will, but I want that L2 deeper. Anyway, that's going to do it. Enjoy. I hope you had a great trading week. Hopefully you ended in the positive. I unfortunately ended in the negative, but nothing out of the ordinary in terms of performance. We know that we traded everything properly. Just a losing week. Part and parcel for the course, as they say. Come back next week, ready to rock and roll, rested up and ready to rock. Ready to rock and roll. So enjoy the weekend, rest up, and we will see you all back on Monday. And keep in mind, coming back on Monday, it's probably going to be a slow start. Oh well, we'll see. Enjoy the weekend, rest up. I hope you have a great holiday weekend, and yeah, We'll see y'all on Monday morning, all right? Talk to y'all later. Thanks.